Hi guys, how are you? This is Danielle popping on to talk to you guys about my past life regression experience and what that was like. So I'm just gonna take a few minutes and fiddle with this because guys, it has been so long since I have gone live on Facebook. I typically go live on Instagram. So I am trying to figure this out. So if you're watching, please tell me you're watching, say hello, drop some hearts, something so I know and I can see you and I can make sure this is even working properly. So make sure you tell me, hey, I see you. Hi, Jenny. Guys, Jenny, I worked with Jenny and she's the one who I did the past life regression with, and it was amazing. So I'm really excited that she's on and watching this because we have not talked like face to face about my experience. So this is going to be pretty cool. So just in case you guys are getting to know me, let me just explain a little bit about my spiritual experience and how it all kind of came together and just a little bit. I mean, that's a long story. So, I mean, I would have you here all day if I really went into all the details on that. But let's just talk about lately. So, the last year, I guess. I have in my meditations and in these beautiful type of silent experiences, I've been getting so many messages, ancestral. Now, I've always had dreams, I've always had visions, I've always had things like that going on in my life, but the ancestors thing is new to me. That's been, and I would say, or me recognizing it is new to me. And I would say in the last few months, especially with all the exploration I've done and all of me accepting and going forward with using my gifts more publicly, it's been a different experience. I mean, I've been opened up to so much more. And now I had this meditation, I would say about 2 months ago, and it was really different. I was able to connect with my ancestors in a way. I was able to see them. They chanted to me, and I saw multiple lifetimes of ancestors. And it was really, I don't know, I can't even explain how this experience really felt. If you've ever had this experience, please tell me, let me know. If you've ever felt like you've connected with past versions of yourself that weren't from this lifetime. They didn't look like you, didn't sound like you or anything like that, but I've done that. So it left me wanting more. It left me really curious. So the idea of past life regression became something I was curious about before that even happened. But then after, I was extremely curious. So when I ran into Jenny, who does this for a living, I was thinking about doing it well before I even saw that she did this. So the other day, I decided I've been having headaches, and yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who's seen it. I've seen so many, like, especially this year, versions of myself. But the last couple weeks, I know I put in a post that I've been having headaches. I've been having all of these sick type symptoms on top of, us thinking we've gotten exposed to COVID and all these other things. But for me, it also comes at a time where I'm going into a different spiritual level, a different type of awakening. So some of those symptoms, a lot of those can be, I would say, associated more with that. So when it came time, I was having a slight headache and I knew I needed to relax. I was going to do a normal meditation, but then I decided, no, do your past life regression. So I got it out and I was going to go ahead and put on the audio and do it. I'm going to be 100% honest. I was a little bit skeptical because I've never done it before. I had no idea what to expect. So when I put the audio on at first, nothing happened. So I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. And I was really curious. Yes, ascension symptoms. It's so funny you say that. We're going to talk about that too, or I want to talk about that. Maybe even another video where we can chat about it after this video for everybody so they can see it. But I'm doing the past life regression. And at first, like I said, I wasn't seeing anything immediately, which it made me more skeptical because when I meditate, I can go to places really quickly and I can visualize very quickly. So I said, okay, well, it's so funny because I put a pillow like even more so over my face. So there would be no light coming in through my eyelids. And because it was still like lights coming from outside through my window, my blinds. So I put that over my pillow, and then I said, no, you know what? You need to relax. So just relax anyway, whether this works for you or it doesn't, you don't know what you're expecting. So I just said, I'm just going to relax and like go to sleep if nothing else. So that's how I looked at it. So I laid down, and then I saw these flashes of purple. So as I kept seeing all these flashes of purple, I was thinking to myself, I balanced my chakras before. Maybe I needed some balancing, and maybe that's what's going on. So I kept going. And then before I knew it, during this lead past life regression, it's telling you to go into a moment, and I was sitting there, and then all of a sudden I saw a vision, and I knew it was me right away, but it wasn't me. And I was sitting at a table. I had just put some things down in this really old time. I would say my brain keeps telling me it was back in the 1600s or something like that. And there was a fire, and there was this big iron pot. And I'm sitting at a table, and I can tell you guys, like, yes, I can visualize all of these things, which, you know, in a way you're like, is this my imagination? What's going on? I never dream about like really things from far in the past anyway. But I can say the emotion is what got to me. I could feel what the person I was seeing, the person like, and what I was seeing through them, I could feel them. So I could feel all of these emotions bubbling up. And the main emotion that stuck with me, and this is the feelings, because even after this past life regression is over, this was a few days ago, I still can feel their emotions as if it were like just happened to me just now. And in this life, she felt so lonely. And it was just such an intense loneliness. And I remember thinking, like, I'm looking at myself, and I could feel almost like what she was thinking, like she was older and she should be married. There should be kids here. And there were no kids. There was no marriage. And she was going around this little tiny house. It was like dirt. She was barefoot. And she was getting these herbs together, and she's packaging them up, and she's putting these herbs together to give to people. And I kept getting thoughts like she needed to help this person, you know, with this problem they were having, and she needed to get these herbs together yes, it's so funny. Like these feelings were so intense, Jenny. Like I'm looking at your comments, and I'll go back through them later, but I'm packaging all these herbs, and all I can remember thinking is I'm some kind of a healer. I'm some kind of medicine. They looked at me like a medicine woman. And I've even saved people's children, and I've even saved from dying, and I've saved people when they felt desperate, and I'm helping all these people, and they would come to the door, even in my vision, they would come to the door and they would knock. They would be covered. Their heads would be covered like they had things over their head, as if they didn't want to be seen at my house. And I would give this little package of herbs, and they would go on their merry way. And I might say 2 words to them, and then it was done. And I remember feeling really good about what I was doing with people. Like I was really helping people in a really impactful way. And I felt like I was living my purpose, and people needed this from me. But then I remember getting really excited because it kept talking me through going through important moments that, yes. And I felt like I was either some kind of medicine woman, witch, healer, something. I didn't know what it was. And I remember getting really excited all of a sudden, like it was time for me to go. And I got my things, and it wasn't much. It was just like this little pouch that had a drawstring I had made. And I got, you know, something to put on my arms. And I remember thinking I was so beautiful. Like it was just but it was eerie beautiful. And I knew I was beautiful even in the vision. I felt that I knew that I was beautiful in this vision. I look nothing like myself now, but it was almost like a curse. I felt that, like, even going into it. And as I ran to go meet the person I was going to meet, and I remember thinking knowing his name was Michael. And I was so full of love. I was so excited. And I can't put my finger on whether we were supposed to go away together. And I remember thinking we were going to get married or something like that. And I remember loving him like you would love a husband, you would love a fiance. And I was so excited. I was so filled with this excitement, but I also felt like it was a bit forbidden. So I was going to meet him where he said to me, because I remember this, and then all of a sudden it goes to people grabbing me and pulling me, and I was upset and I was calling for Michael. And then I ended up being in front of like a jury of my peers almost. And it was like people I knew, people I helped. I remember looking at one person who was staring there at me, and I wanted them to help me. And it was a person who had to help their sick child, and I helped their sick child survive. I remember all of this, and it's so funny that I can remember this so clearly as if it's my own memory, right? Almost like I watched a movie. And I remember feeling utter betrayal. And then I looked out, and my love, Michael, I remember looking at him there, staring. And he was just smirking, and he was okay. And he wasn't helping me. He wasn't coming to my rescue. And I remember people saying that I was some sort of witch. And I remember them saying full of like evil and talking about, like, basically witchery. And I remember like thinking like, what is going on here? Tell them I'm not. Tell them I'm not evil. Tell them I'm good. Tell them I saved your child. Tell them I helped you. And why is no one speaking for me? And I remember like trying to fight and just trying to explain, but I couldn't talk. And I remember a noose, and I remember them like going in and hanging me. And then the people who I loved, the people who I helped on a regular basis, the man I loved said nothing. They didn't come to my defense in any way, anyway. And I remember feeling so utterly broken. Like my heart literally split in half. And I remember feeling, and this is such an intense heartbreak. I never felt this kind of heartbreak in my life. The kind of heartbreak, like I literally could feel my heart breaking. Like, and I don't even know if you've never experienced it. I don't even know if I can explain that to someone to that point. And yes, I've been married, I've been divorced, and I still have never felt that kind of a heartbreak before. And they go to hang me. And I remember I couldn't talk. I slightly tried to struggle, but then there came a point where I didn't. And I remember a tear falling, and I remember just staring at him and staring at this guy, Michael, and just swearing I would never, if I could make it out of this, and if I could somehow stop this, and if I could somehow be okay, I would never trust another love again. Never, never. And it would never happen to me. And I died. I like they killed me, and the whole time I was dying, I just remember feeling so much heartbreak, so much betrayal, and it was so, guys, I can't even tell you, like I almost wanted to wake up because of the physical pain I was feeling, not because I was feeling myself physically die, but the emotional pain I was in going through this regression. And then it just as quickly as I could like almost want to move my body to get up, I immediately went into this other life. And I remember, yes, that vow. Yeah, I'm reading like Jenny's comments and the vow that I made at death. It's so funny that this carries over because I used to think like I was cursed when it came to love because I was never completely vulnerable. I never truly allowed myself to feel but so much in any relationship. And now I'm like going through that experience and having that past life regression and seeing that life. I even know her name. Her name is Genevieve. And like seeing that, and I also know that I felt like it was Connecticut. Like I've never even been to Connecticut, so I have no idea why but I felt like it was Connecticut. So feeling what she felt made sense to me. It made sense. Like it was like, that's right. And that's the feeling that I got. So if you've never done one of these, it's almost as if you forgot something and now you remember yourself. So that's what happened to me. And then I was like, that's right. That's why. And so then I go into this other life and I'm immediately giving birth. Like there was no time to recover. There was no time to breathe. I'm like literally physically giving birth, and I'm sweating and my clothes are torn. And yeah, all of these things that I'm doing as I'm giving birth, and I'm giving birth to this child that I feel disconnected to, which is so strange for me because I'm like so into my kids. I can't even believe it. And in this life, I remember thinking of this man, but it wasn't in the same way that I remember Michael. It was, I'm sitting in front of this, like I'm thinking of this man. He's not near me. I'm by myself. I'm on hay. I'm in some kind of like, it's like a hut or something. It's like it's a building, but it's torn apart. Like you can see through it. It's almost like indoor, outdoor. It's still back in that time period that I was before. It's almost the same time period, but I feel like it was after, but it wasn't far out of it, like 1600s in some way, but it was just after that. And then, or it could be 1700s, I have no idea. But I'm giving birth and I'm screaming and I'm going through such agony, but I'm trying to be quiet. And I remember like thinking I escaped from this evil man. And he was evil, but he wasn't the one that I felt that was the most evil. And I'm thinking of this. So sorry if I'm looking away because I'm just trying to remember everything for you guys. And his name was Matthew. And I remember thinking he was so powerful. Like he was so powerful. I don't know if that meant rich. I don't know what it meant, but he was powerful. And I can feel that. And I felt as though I was raped. And same thing, looked completely different than the other life. And I had this baby, but I still don't remember even hearing the baby. I just don't remember a huge connection to the baby. And I kept visioning this woman. And she looked like either a house manager or his wife, or that's the feeling I got. But she was pure evil, pure evil. And I felt a connection to her, like a connection like I know her now. And I'll tell you about this connection later, but I felt so strongly connected to her like I knew her in this life. But she looked nothing like anybody I knew. And I kept going. I had this baby. And then I remember, and this one was a little bit more fuzzy. And I feel like this one was more traumatic. So I felt like I blocked some of it out. But in this regression, they set me on fire. And I was holding my baby. And they set my whole place, everything on fire. And I heard the horses. I heard the people outside. And I remember feeling like I could see this woman smile. And I remember screaming, and I could literally, guys, during this regression, feel the fire. I could literally feel the fire coming up my body. And I remember like wanting to scream out loud, like now, like wanting to scream and fighting it, like in a way. And like, oh my gosh, like, and feeling like, can I come out of this? Can I like leave this, or am I stuck here? But I remember just being afraid and just being like scorned and all of these emotions. And I literally like, I want like the scream, I could feel it bubbling up in my chest and I wanted to let it out. And then I'm like wanting it to stop. And I remember thinking, I just want this to stop. I want this to be over. And I know I died. And then it goes into another life. This was crazy. And guys, this was only like, Jenny, it was so funny because like I told you about some of these, and it's crazy to think this past life regression was only like 20 minutes because it felt like hours. It felt like literally I was asleep, but not asleep for hours. And I felt like, I mean, literally, I went to 3 lives. I feel like I experienced lifetimes of experiences in 20 minutes. And in this next life that I went to, I immediately went to a happy moment. I was so in love. I was so happy. I was getting married. And this is not all the way now, but it was in a more present time frame. And then I went into this life, and I remember it was a different feeling because I was really happy. I felt like I had come home to like a marriage, and I was happy. And then it went to this, I could feel that something changed in my marriage, and I don't know what it was, but something like negative, but I still had the love there. And then it took me to a moment where I'm swinging on the swings, and light was around me, and these different color lights and these little orbs, but it was pure bliss, pure happiness, and that I was feeling. And I was swinging on the swings next to what I know was my son. And he was older. He was between 8 and 10, and I'm swinging next to him. And I could hear his laughter. I can even still hear it now, and I could hear my laughter. And we just felt free. And I remember we felt so free. And then we went through this, and before I know it, I received a phone call, or a phone call or something. It was a message. And then I came off of the swings, and I remember feeling somewhat afraid, and aggravated, and like confused. And I was talking, And I was busy. I remember being busy. And then all of a sudden, I heard a crash. And then when I look, my son had gotten hit by a car. So it was so traumatic. I remember feeling so devastated. And then at this point, I'm like wanting to scream. I'm screaming in my regression. I'm wanting to scream in real life. And then I remember like never wanting to feel that kind of pain again. It's almost like the betrayal, but it's different because it's a child. Like I felt like I failed my son, and I felt like I was betrayed, but it was in a different way. And then in that one, I remember how I died. I don't know what transpired, how many hours, how much time, but I remember taking pills. And then I remember falling asleep and thinking about my son. And then I remember feeling at peace finally and free. And that's it. But let me tell you, by that time, I had went into cutting cords and doing this exercise in order to kind of release some of this energy. And it was so intense in the cutting cords. I can feel them like being pulled from my chest, being slayed with swords. I remember seeing these figures of light doing it. These figures of lights, but they were people, but they were all I could see were different shades of light. And they were doing these cord cuttings. And then I saw the person I had the most cords attached to me, and they had them coming from everywhere. And they were into me, and the light people were trying to cut it away, but they kept coming and they kept coming. And the deepest one, they were yanking almost like a rope and pulling it from my heart. And they kept pulling and pulling, and I could like literally feel my chest like being lifted up. And in this, that's how that pretty much it started ending. And I knew I was starting to come out of this, I guess, trance. But a little girl came, and then she said, "I'll see you later." I have no idea who this little girl is. And if I've had dreams the last couple nights, I don't remember them, but I felt like I would really see her later. And it's just such a familiar like feeling when I saw her. But I would say after this, and I know some people are probably like, do I want to do this? Past life regression, probably after hearing mine. But I can tell you, the things that I saw just feel like something I needed to know. I felt like so many questions have been answered, and I feel like I have so many more, but it just gave me such peace because it connected things in my life that just made them make sense. Like for instance, and honestly, I felt like if I ever did a past life regression, it was going to be like more businessy and more like, I don't know, money making and all of this stuff. And I don't know why I thought I would feel like that. And that's what I would see, but that's what I thought. And then it was the complete opposite. It made sense of things in my life that I thought didn't need to be made sense of. Like for instance, it made me feel like I'm very protective of my children and I would like to keep them so close. And I never understood why. I never understood truly why I felt that need. And when I was pregnant with my son, I felt this solemn feeling. Like I felt very paranoid that something would happen to my kids. And I felt very solemn, almost to the point at one point in my pregnancy that I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go anywhere. And it was so intense. And I remember talking to the doctors saying like, midwife, I've never felt like this before in any pregnancy. I don't know why I'm feeling like this. And I didn't know what he was, a boy or a girl. It was a surprise. And I felt like I wanted him, but I felt so intense. And to me, guys, this past life regression made so much sense because the bond that I felt with the son, I felt like I knew him and it felt like it was my son now, but he looked different. He was older, but it felt like it was the same person. And that makes so much sense to me because I was so scared and so solemn. And if I lost a son in a past life, it makes so much sense because I didn't want anything to happen to him. And I remember feeling in that other life that I was afraid, that I felt like I couldn't protect him. And I didn't protect him and didn't do my job. So it makes so much sense of what I was feeling that I would feel this in this life. So, I mean, I just felt like that was healed and that made so much sense to me with that. And then with these other lives, it made so much sense of other things. So I definitely suggest them. And because I'm intuitive, because I have these gifts, my experience might be more intense than someone else's experience. And I started having these before the actual past life regression. But I would suggest anybody who's curious about doing this, or if you have any more questions about my personal experience, please ask me, because I didn't know what it was, and I would have loved to hear someone else's experience before I had done it, but I will definitely continue doing them. They are so eye-opening, and it's brought awareness, because even in my past lives, I did know that I had gifts in every single one of them. I had spiritual gifts. I had something. I felt like in 2 of them, I was even a witch. And I had felt this, and I've been writing this word through scribing for the last month, but it was made clear to me in those past life regressions. And in the other one, I didn't feel like I was a witch, but it just made so much sense about my relationship with my kids. And it made so much sense about why I would be leery of love and all of these things, which made me feel like I could heal. And I can tell you, I felt lighter after the past life regression. And although I still felt the feelings, and I can still feel the feelings when I think about these as if they're my own personal memories, because they are, I still feel all of the feelings. So it's a strange thing to feel feelings from a person that you're not at this moment, but it was just such a beautiful experience. And I just felt like this would be the perfect place to share if anybody's curious, if anybody has had even dreams like this, where you visit another life, where you feel like it's another life. I would love to hear about it. You can tell me in the comments. You can tell me if you catch this as a replay, please also tell me that you're watching the replay so I know. But tell me about it inside of this group. This is a safe space, and I want you to feel free to explore here and explore these different beautiful modalities of finding yourself and bringing that clarity to your life. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching and listening to my experience. It was such a transformational and powerful experience, and I hope that you get the chance to experience it too. And I love you. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.